Hello, my name is T. Mitchell. I am from T Talks Myeloma, and I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in the year of 2017. What a mighty year that was. While on vacation, my husband and I were across country, and I ended up in the emergency room for a few times. It was 3 times that we ended up in the emergency room on vacation. And finally, in the end, my husband came to me and he said, would you rather go home by plane or by car because you're in such excruciating pain? And we ended up going home by flight. And I couldn't imagine being in a car for 2 days versus being on the plane for 4 hours. So I prayed up and got on the plane. And in 3 hours, we landed back here in Dallas. And when we got back to Dallas, I never felt any better. I ended up in the emergency room here several times. But prior to going to the emergency room, I went to what I call the doc in the box, which is like an urgent care center. And within the urgent care, they figured out really quickly that I was just coming there complaining and just basically seeking drugs to feel better. So finally, a doc in a box said, "Hey, do you mind if we just take a picture of your of your back that you're complaining about?" And so finally, when they did take the picture, she says, this X-ray machine is not as concise as maybe an MRI. So let's go ahead and schedule you for an MRI. Because I can tell there is something wrong with your back. So we ended up scheduling the MRI, but needless to say, I never made it to the MRI. I ended up in the emergency room that very night again. And this time, we ended up in the county hospital. My mom suggested I go to the county hospital because she says, you've been sick for several weeks, you've been to several places, and no one's giving you any help. The county hospital will surely find what's wrong with you. So we ended up in the county hospital. And within 15 minutes to 30 minutes, the county hospital ended up finding me a room where I stayed for about 2.5 weeks because I ended up having back surgery and finding out that I was having myeloma. So with that being said, I had several things that I had to learn how to adjust in my lifestyle. My whole world came crashing down, and I had to rebuild and fix my life by trying new things, making adjustments to my schedule because I wasn't able to just jump up and get started. Having myeloma showed me that I needed to take more time. I couldn't move as fast as I would. I could get winded having myeloma. I could get winded taking a shower and getting out. I could be out of breath. Several things started happening that was just not what I was accustomed to being diagnosed with myeloma. So it was a huge adjustment in my life. When I came home from the hospital, I did come home with a walker. So I had to learn how to walk all over again. And I had this huge harness of a back brace. So I had to learn to walk again, adjust to sleeping, and then work my way out of sleeping with this big harness back brace, which I still have. It's in one of the closets in the house. But there were several things that I had to do to make adjustments in my life. And then when I came home, one of the things that was recommended was that I had to have isolation. So I couldn't be around a whole lot of people. It would seem like one of the lifestyle adjustments was that I was a magnet for picking up other people's germs really quickly, which is one of the side effects of myeloma. So if you had a stomach ache, guess who ended up with a stomach ache? But it was not just a traditional stomach ache for me. Your stomach ache could land me in the hospital for about 2 or 4 days, trying to get better because it took that long. I could get an earache and it will take me 3 weeks to get over the earache. I mean, it just seemed like every time I contracted something, it took me weeks on top of weeks on top of weeks to get over. So I learned how to isolate myself really quickly. So prior to COVID, I was living a COVID lifestyle, because I did not want to contract anything because it could be very grave at that time. So when they started trying me on the different drugs and different things that I was using in order to find the right cocktail, I like to say, that would suit me, um, my immune system was very fragile. And so we took that into great consideration. One of the things that I like to share with people is taking what they say when you're diagnosed, but also uh, know for yourself, research as much as possible so that you are able to be empowered and be a decision maker in your healthcare, especially when you're navigating, your oncologists and other people. So that you know what best treatment, or you understand the treatment plan that they are suggesting for you. And it's okay if you would like to um, add something to it. Always go into the doctor's office uh, with your questions written down and make sure that they are answered. That's one of the best things that I can say that I would want to recommend to people who are navigating this illness. And from my perspective, I like to encourage anyone to advocate for early detection. Um, I know for me, had I known earlier that this was happening to my body, I would have been more cognizant, more aware of what was happening and what was going on. So am a big proponent for early detection, finding out earlier, sooner rather than later.